Hey there, it's me, Ryan. I am leaving Maine and heading to Massachusetts, and I have to say, for the first time on the trip, my heart hurts because I'm not sure I got the full Maine experience for my visit because I'd cut my visit by a night short. I am not sure that I'm walking away getting the entirety of both the urban and rural sense of Maine, but you know what? I'm sure I'll be back someday, and this trip is this is not a final. This is it. I might be doing this again someday. Who knows? That's the dream, to keep doing this until I'm in the ground. But I did have an amazing visit. When I got there with Sarah, who I was with in New Hampshire, we parked up at a coffee shop. I got ready for my interview with the mayor of Portland, Ethan Strimling, who is straight out of Central Casting, a very handsome silver fox of a mayor. And this is interesting for me. It turns out he's actually born in New York City. He went to Juilliard for theater and decided to go into politics after feeling like he was sort of being put on a track that he wasn't sure was actually his destiny, because his family was in theater. His grandma was an actor in Cleveland, actually, Cleveland Playhouse. More about that from the interview. But he talked about what it's like to be a truly progressive mayor. And
16 miles ahead on the route. Slow traffic.
Okay, well, that's Boston for you. That's where I'm heading. But he talked about what it was like having a family of actors and wanting to find his own journey and being a progressive mayor. He talked a little bit about bipartisanship. He's like, there's this sense that with bipartisanship you have to cut the baby in half, and you can't do that. You have to find a way to get a compromise, something you want and something that you kind of get sick from doing. But you have to get both in order to get something that you feel good about. So for example, working with a Republican who wanted to cut income tax, and he wanted to have a more progressive property tax. So being able to work with Republicans to create something that accomplishes one of his goals and also one of the Republicans' goals, even though he doesn't necessarily agree with it, you got to be able to have both. And there's some really exciting progressive things going on in Portland, such as every new housing development needs to have 10% affordable housing, or they can buy out. The companies can buy out by paying $100,000 or something like that to a new affordable housing fund. He said he's an unabashedly progressive mayor, and he is excited to be putting in those reforms in Portland. But there are things that he is limited to do. I asked the importance of local government. Has local government been forgotten? He says, well, people have never actually really remembered local government. They think about national government, but he is limited to what he can do. He can't raise the sales tax for the city. He can only do the excise tax and I think property tax. So he says, my hands are tied, so I need to work with Augusta, and there are certain things when Augusta is a Republican governorship right now, there are certain things he can't do, so he's limited, but there are things that he can do in Portland that he'd like to do for the rest of Maine, but he can't because he's limited to his jurisdiction. So that was a really great interview, and then I went and met with a Northwestern alum, Go Cats, a state representative named Matt Moonen, who also works for Equality Maine, and has moved there to work on the legislation for marriage equality that then was repealed in a referendum in 2009, that then was passed in a referendum in 2012, and he stayed ever since and has been a legislator. He sort of talks about the hallway politics of Augusta. There aren't offices to hide in. It's a $14,000 a year job, so it's people do it part-time. They have real jobs during the day. And he said it's really interesting to have people be able to access you, because he's from Nashville, Tennessee, went to Northwestern Chicago, did some things in New York, and there are these professional politicians there. And here it's not the case. You are able to access most people in Maine. And he seems really happy with his life, and he says Portland is a small town, and he represents a certain district in Portland, but he's able to see his constituents a lot, and I think he gets a lot of joy from that. And I think working for the LGBT cause in Portland, it's an amazing center. They have so many resources. They have a pumpkin ball tomorrow that I'm sad to be missing, and he tried to set me up with the gubernatorial candidate Janet Mills, whose husband is working on the campaign, but I had to rush to Boston, so I wasn't able to meet with her last minute. So, but still, I learned a lot about the ins and outs of the government in Maine. And then friend Sarah and I were going to go to a soup kitchen, and we were running a little behind. We got to a parking garage, and she had a whatever storage thing on the top of her car that wouldn't get her in the garage. We tried to find parking, we couldn't, and then we got in this conversation, which I thought was interesting, because for this project I'm trying to meet as many people as I can in the community and actually interview them about what it's like living in the state. And I don't want to just talk to mayors and legislators. I want to talk to real people, and I've tried to. We said, is it helpful if we show up in Maine for one day and we help at a soup kitchen? They have to train us, I'm not sure how hard it even is, but someone just shows up once, is it even that helpful? And we talked about what actually is helpful with community service, and I think the answer is going out in your own community and being a consistent, reliable volunteer. Being there every Tuesday, people know to depend on you. You find someone to fill in for you if you can't go. It's not just sort of a drop in wherever you want, because, it's like job training. You have to rely on people. Companies lose money when they lose people, or people are sick, or they have to replace people. So that's something we thought about, and we were like, are we just trying to make ourselves feel better for not going to the soup kitchen? I don't know, but I'm definitely going to keep doing community service around here, but just something to be aware of. You don't want to have this sort of savior complex. We come and say, oh, I passed out soup, I'm a really good person, and I'm never coming back again. So that's something that I've been thinking about. And then we went to have some lobster. I wanted some lobster because, you can't go to Maine and not have lobster. And I had a lobster, and it was really quite good. Something weird happened at the Portland Lobster Company, which is where we went. I bought a $5 t-shirt with Portland and a bunch of lobsters on it because I love lobsters. When I was a kid, I had lobster stuffed animals. That's how I know I should move to Maine. And we went up to order at the bar, order our food, and we came back, and we ate, and we went to leave, and we realized that someone had pilfered my t-shirt and my koozie. I was like, oh my, why would I was confused why anyone would steal it. It was a small, and it was not like a thoroughfare. So we went up and we asked the bar, just, have you seen this shirt anywhere? Maybe at the Wind Blue? They said, no. So sorry, man, maybe someone stole it. Someone's kind of klepto. Can we get you a beer? I was like, I'm not really drinking. They're like, well, I've got a solution. Why don't we just give you one of our shirts? So I got this amazing Portland Lobster Company shirt. It's literally my dream shirt. So, you get robbed in Maine, but then someone gives you a free shirt. So I thought that was kind of beautiful. Sarah and I then went to a brewery to check out the local scene. I wasn't drinking, but I told them I was writing this book and working on this vlog, and they gave me a free flight, which I thought was really sweet of them, and they didn't have to do that. So thank you, Aaron, at Liquid Riot Brewery. I thought that was really awesome. And we met up with Maria, who is a Northwestern alum that I actually was in my grade, who lives in Portland and works in hospital administration at Maine Health. And we stayed with her, and we went and got a few, we got one beer, and the lady at the bar, I was trying to stand there.
Proceed on the current freeway.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, I'm writing a book about the best that Maine has to offer, so I'll have one beer. Let me know what's the best one. She's like, well, what are you in the mood for? I was like, I like Hefeweizen, I like stout. She's like, oh, well, if you enjoy writing, maybe you enjoy reading. She put the menu in front of me, and she's like, there's our list of beers, and then she kind of ran away. I was like, okay. This really nice guy, he's like, what's your book about? And he started asking me questions. I was like, it's about reinvesting in our communities, what does it mean to participate in democracy in this age? It's about rural versus urban. Where's the moral place to live as a liberal or conservative? So, I think that's really cool. Actually, I used to date Sean Moody, who's running for governor as Republican's daughter, and he had all these really nice things to say about him. And he said something that I won't forget. He was like, I'm just passing through. I'm from upstate. So, but I think people forget that, people pretend that liberals are stupid and Republicans are greedy. It's like, we're all just trying to get at different solutions to the same problem. Doesn't mean we always use the same tactics that are moral tactics, but everyone's got it. You got to see everyone's point of view. So I think it's cool that you're trying to interview Democrats and Republicans. That being said, if you're a Republican watching this, please let me interview you. I got Christine Todd Whitman, and I had Anya from Vermont, but I don't know if you guys don't trust me because I seem like the liberal elite, but I'm not. Just a regular boy from
5 miles
Montford, Illinois.
ahead on the route. Stop and go traffic.
Stop and go traffic coming into Boston. So anyway, and then we stayed over with Maria and Zach, who are both from the Midwest. So we had a lot of talks about what it's like to leave the Midwest to come out here, and sort of, is there a hunger to go back? They thought it was interesting that Maine people will just sort of start chatting to you. You'll make eye contact with someone, they'll be like, what are you drinking? So I thought that was kind of cool. So this morning we got up, we got some breakfast, we drove around, saw the beach, and then we went on a lighthouse tour through some small towns, and we talked to some people at the lighthouses who were from places that weren't Portland, and they confirmed that there's this divide, that Portland isn't the real Maine, and that if I want to go, I gotta go up north. So I ended up going to Scarborough and trying to talk to some people, went to a church, no one was available, no one wanted to chat with me. So Maine, I apologize if I didn't get the nuances of you. I think I understand it, and I met some people that weren't from Portland, but I really want to do my due diligence to meet different types of people, not just the mayor, not just legislators. But I did have some real, epiphanies, and that's what it's about. And maybe sharing these things with you will cause conversation. But Maine, I owe you one. I want to come back because I was very enchanted by you. And Sarah was such an amazing travel companion. And Maria, Zach, thanks for hosting. And Aaron, thanks for the beers. Guy at the bar, thanks for laying down some truth. And thank you, Maine. And thank you, Lobster. Here we go, Boston.